Hello and welcome to the Queen of Hearts. My name is Danielle. I'm here to talk to you about the movement of the planets through the different zodiacal signs and the way that the zodiacal signs modify the meaning of our planets. So it's good to remind you that we have two luminaries. So in astrology, we have a sun and we have a moon, and we have another 8 planets, 3 of which are outer planets, and the other 5 are traditional planets. Okay, so these planets all have different meanings. Okay, they stand for different things in an innate way. Like they have core meanings that describe what they're here to bring forth in the world. Okay, so if we look through the world, like we look at events that happen around us, even if we look at furniture in our house, different items, different events will take on the nature of different planets. Just because a knife is sharp, it takes on the nature of Mars because it's able to separate and cut, which are some of the indications of the planet Mars. If we look at a tree outside, okay, a tree is likely to take on, a couple of different planetary indications, but let's say the planet Saturn, because the tree is something that develops over a long period of time, okay, and maybe it's a very old tree. This tree could be connected to Saturn. Now, of course, different plants and herbs and trees actually tie into all different planets based on their rulerships, and this will get much more confusing. But just to give you a general sense, like for example, a mirror could connect to Venus because Venus is a planet of beauty and a planet of aesthetics. So if you think about your life and you look around, you can see different planets have different meanings, and they can sort of be featuring all around you at any given time. My telephone is a sign of Mercury. It connects with the planet Mercury because Mercury is about data and digital and communication. So now you're starting to get an idea of different planets and what different planets can symbolize in astrology. Now, the thing is that when a planet moves through the zodiac, which it's the planets are the things that move, okay? The zodiac is not moving. It's the planets that do the rotation around the sun. And therefore the planets enter into different zodiacal signs. So if you think about, let's just say, for example, the moon is the core meaning of the moon is connected to our needs, okay? What do we need to feel safe and secure? Okay, what are our habits like? It can talk about our home life. It can talk about our relationship with our mother. The moon is going to be the fastest moving celestial body. So it also talks about the way that our life changes over time. And our physical body, the moon is that yin aspect, it's a physical, whereas the sun is the spiritual aspect or the yang component. So when we're looking at the transits of the moon or the moon's placement in different zodiacal signs, then we can start to get an idea that the signs are what flavor the planet. Okay, so the moon has natural affinity for feeling safe and wanting to feel nurtured and to nurture. Okay, so if the moon lands in the sign of Cancer, okay, which is what astrologers would call being at home, the moon actually rules the sign of Cancer. So when the moon's there, it feels very safe and secure, and it can express itself in its natural way, okay, which is to look after and to feed and to protect. Now, what happens though, if say the moon when you were born was in a very different sign? Let's just say the moon was in Capricorn, okay, which is the sign opposite to Cancer. Now, astrologers would classify this as being in detriment. Now, detriment sounds really horrible, doesn't it? But it's an indication that means that a planet is out of its comfort zone. Okay, a planet is going to express itself in a different way, maybe in a countercultural way. And so this means that things that are like moon-like, so, maybe feeling safe and connected to other people, or maybe feeling confident to be vulnerable, these things might not come as easily to someone who has their moon in Capricorn. They could feel a little bit more guarded, or it could take them longer to open up. And this is because when the moon travels through Capricorn, it's actually moving through the territory of the planet Saturn, who rules Capricorn. And Saturn is a lot more guarded, a lot more kind of mistrustful, okay, than the moon would generally feel if it was in Cancer. And so the point is that the zodiacal signs modify or color these planets and what they're trying to bring about. And so that's why it's important to know what signs your planets are in your birth chart. Now, if you haven't had a birth chart session done, it is a good idea to do so. And you can book one on my website, which is queenofheartsastrology.com. Now, birth charts help because we can see all of the different planets and we can see what signs of the zodiac they were in when you were born. Now, this gives us an idea. If we see Venus, the planet of love and connection and beauty and aesthetics, maybe she's placed in the sign of Scorpio. Okay, this is a little bit of a challenging sign for Venus, again, because Venus wants to connect and unify and bring things together. Okay, it's got that, it's the opposite of that, what's that movie, Mean Girls, like where you can't sit at this table kind of feeling, Venus when she's in Scorpio could be a little bit like that because Scorpio is ruled by the planet Mars. And so you can see how, even though Venus wants to bring things together, when she's in a sign like Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars, then her indications might be kind of more difficult to express, okay? Perhaps relationships can take on a little bit more of a dramatic tone. Maybe they can be turbulent, okay, if we have, say, a planet like Venus in Scorpio. Even if Venus is in Aries, this is another example of Venus traveling into a Mars-ruled territory. So look at those zodiacal signs and look at the planet that rules that sign, because that is the territory that the planet is moving into. Okay, I'll give you another example. We've got the planet Mars. Now, Mars talks about our assertion, okay, the way we fight. How do we defend ourselves? Okay, now Mars does very well and is very, very strong. And now sometimes this isn't always a good thing, okay? People might be a little bit too warlike or a little bit too aggressive, but Mars, when it's in Aries, can really express those natural Mars-like tendencies. And that can be good if you're a boxer or a fighter or something like that. Now, Mars, when it's in, let's say, a sign ruled by Venus, for example, let's give you an example of Mars, Mars in Taurus. Mars is going to express itself in a very different way, okay? Instead of fighting like a Mars in Aries, Mars is going to probably use its charm, okay, because it's in a Venus-ruled sign. And a good example of this is actually a famous fighter. And so this is Muhammad Ali. Now, Muhammad Ali, he was incredibly successful, but he was known for his dancing. He danced around opponents and he would be charming and he would have a lot of, a real kind of vocal thing, like he'd have a lot to say. So you can see how it doesn't exclude him from being a good fighter, but it just means he's going to express those Mars-like tendencies in a very different way to the natural expression of Mars, that pure expression of Mars when it's in its own home sign. So all you need to do is get your chart, check out what planets are in what signs, and then see, okay, say for example, you've got Mercury in Capricorn. Okay, well, you've got to ask yourself, what is the ruler of Capricorn? Okay, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Now look at it. Now look at what this looks like. This is going to help you to understand how to work with this more. Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of expression, the planet of learning, dialogue, debating, all this stuff. That planet is in Capricorn. So it's in Saturn territory. So you're going to be expressing these things. Maybe you're going to learn a bit more gradually. Maybe you're going to be a hands-on learner with Mercury in Capricorn because it's ruled by Saturn. It might take you a little bit longer, but maybe you'll never forget. Saturn is an earth sign, okay? So maybe you'll learn by doing. Maybe your communication will be a little bit more slow and, step by step, like the nature of earth. For example, if Mercury was in, let's say, Leo, you know, which is ruled by the sun, which is that big fire energy. You know, your communication, your expression, your learning might be more dramatic. It might have more flair. It might be quite excitable. You know, you might be a bit of a show off. But there's always going to be interesting expressions. Now, so look at that. Look at that and look at each planet and look at the sign it's in and look at the planet that rules that sign if you want to take a deeper dive into your chart. Now, let me know how you go. I'd be curious to see how you found this as an exercise. I will be back with more of these instructional videos. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon. If you do want to work with me, go to queenofheartsastrology.com. Thank you.